If I may, I started the company because I went to work for another building company, the only time in my building career that I actually worked for somebody. Mm-hmm. I'll keep the name out of this to protect the guilty. But took a week's vacation, came home, and the IRS had seized the business because they forgot to pay these things called taxes, and found myself unemployed. But I did find myself with 4 customers whom I had developed projects for that were at various stages of construction that I left on vacation, came back, and it hit me that, oh man, these people trusted me. Now, they'd already put money with the IRS indirectly. Mm-hmm. So I had to make a decision what I was going to do with those people.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Your Project Shepherd podcast. I'm your host, Curtis Lawson, and today my guest is my friend Bob Peterson. I first got to know Bob several years ago when we were in a NAHB Builder 20 group together, actually a Remodeler 20 group together, which is a peer group that NAHB offers, that Bob was, I think, maybe a founding member of back when that program first started. Yep. And Bob's been in the building industry for about 40 years now, I think all of which in Colorado, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he owned Associates in Building and Design, ABD, which is a remodeling company in Fort Collins, which he has since sold to his daughters, Allison and Heather, who were also in the 20 group with us, who I know. And so now he's completely retired, has his feet up on the dashboard, just living the good life and not doing much, right?
Wrong.
So now he's spending his time in NAHB leadership, which takes up, I think, a good part of his time. He's currently the second vice chair of NAHB, which means in 2 years he will be the chairman.
2027.
Yeah, 2027. He's going to be the top dog. So Bob is somebody that I really look up to. He's been a great leader, nationally for NAHB. He's been a great coach for a lot of people, and a great friend for a lot of people as well. He's highly respected in the building community, and I'm just so happy to have you here today, Bob, and I can't say enough great things about you.
Thank you, Curtis.
So I wanted to start off by talking about this journey from young remodeler, builder, building up your company, and then getting involved in the world of NAHB leadership. I think sometimes, especially young guys in the industry, see the guys in like national NAHB, and they see a bunch of guys wearing suits that kind of look like politicians, and they're talking, and they don't realize that those guys had the same journey that they are in the midst of right now. Like they went through the same struggles. They started off small. They grew their company. They kind of came up through the ranks, right? So at one time you were a hungry young guy in Colorado, right?
I was a hungry young guy in Colorado that grew up on a ranch, learned how to work, and kind of fell into the building industry, and decided that as something I liked. I've always liked building things, whether it's building people or building structures. So it was a pretty natural fit for me. I was a coach for a while before the building industry, or at the beginning of the building industry, because I did both for a little while in the 70s. As far as length of time, I built my first house from ground up. May of 1975. So my math says that's 50 years ago, Curtis.
That's before I was born.
I was young, probably 23 years old.
Well,
to be honest with you, I needed a place to live. I moved back home, so to speak, and spent 9 months. The first year I was teaching school and coaching at the time, that first year in a mobile home. Decided that wasn't what I wanted to live in. So my options were to buy an old house that probably needed more work than I was willing or had time to do. I just built a house, and the rest is kind of not history, but it morphed from there.
Yeah. And so did you start off having your own business, or did you start off working for another builder, remodeler, production builder, anything like that?
I would say that I start off having my own organization. I am not going to call it a business. We all affectionately know people who are known as pickup truck people. That's really what I was for the first little bit, even though I was building new houses, not doing any remodels yet at the time. I was just building new houses, primarily for school teachers that I worked with, because they thought, that's cool. Can we build me one? And made, frankly, more money over 3 years of doing that while I was teaching school than I did teaching school. So it was kind of an easy transition from a financial standpoint, thinking, wow, this can work.
Yeah. So did you think back then when you were 23 years old building houses that you wanted to be in NAHB leadership one day?
Well, no, I didn't, because I didn't know how to spell NAHB at that time. But I knew I wanted to be in leadership. In high school, I was the first and youngest person to ever be like a district Future Farmers of America officer. I'm the first high school student in Colorado that was a state officer. So it's kind of in me. Good or bad, it's kind of been with me for a long time. Yeah. So,
looking back at your journey, what kind of lessons that you learn, or what kind of struggles that you have to overcome to get your business to the point where you could one day hand it off, sell it to your daughters, have a succession plan, and then also have the free time and the resources to get into volunteering and being involved nationally with NAHB?
Well, to be honest with you, Curtis, that kind of came natural. What kind of issues? I'll answer that briefly and then expound a little bit. All of them, because all of those issues hit us when they're, especially when we're first starting. When I founded Associates in Building and Design in May of 1990. 15 years after I built my first house, and I had done lots of things in the 80s and so forth. But when I decided this was going to be it, this is the career, I started it a little more mature, a little older, knowing that I needed to build a business eventually. Got a master's degree in business, an MBA during that time frame. And so I learned a little bit about business. But I still... most of my education in the business world is called making mistakes and learning from them, because when I speak today, even or have spoken in the past, whether it's educational or just informational or whatever, I pretty much start every presentation I get by informing the people in the audience that if they're here to learn all the right answers, they're talking to the wrong guy, because I don't have the right answers necessarily, but I've surely made all the wrong mistakes. Just learn from them. It's critically important. But when I started the company, I knew I needed help. I needed to be somewhere. A couple years after I started the company, I heard about this thing called NAHB. And so I investigated a little bit. If you know the NAHB Federation and Family, it's a three-legged stool. Local associations or chapters with state associations and the National Federation NAHB in Washington, D.C. I joined the local NAHB. Didn't know I was joining a three-legged stool out of the gate, but learned rapidly that it's there. And what they had to offer me immediately was education. Mm-hmm. Very specific education that was going to help me grow and solidify and develop my company. So I became a sponge. I traveled all over this country in the mid-90s, taking classes and learning everything I could. What I accidentally absorbed through that was the networking part of it. Friends like Curtis Lawson, and Curtis, you and I both got lots of common friends from the NAHB family. Mm-hmm. And I learned that I have a family, 2 daughters, 5 grandkids, a wife. But what I've got is this nationwide family of peers that allows me at any given time, if I hit one of those bumps in the road, I could call somebody and say, hey, have you hit this bump before? If you have, how'd you get through it? Yeah. And so that is in a nutshell, really really what my path's been like. I've made all the mistakes. I started out building new homes in 1990 and doing some remodeling. And frankly, if I may, I started the company because I went to work for another building company, the only time in my building career that I actually worked for somebody. I'll keep the name out of this to protect the guilty. But took a week's vacation, came home, and the IRS had seized the business because they forgot to pay these things called taxes, and found myself unemployed. But I did find myself with 4 customers whom I had developed projects for that were at various stages of construction that I left on vacation, came back, and it hit me that, oh man, these people trusted me.
Yeah.
Now, they'd already put money with the IRS indirectly. So I had to make a decision what I was going to do with those people. And I went to the bank, told them that I needed to borrow some money, told the story to the banker, and the banker says, what do you have collateral? And I said, you're looking at him, because that's about where I was in life. And anyway, those 4 people were the start.
Yeah.
Then I started building some homes. I even tried production home building one time and found out that that's not for me.
Yeah.
Work your tail off and didn't make much money. That was 1997 when I decided to embrace the word remodeler and did everything I could to get to be one of the best. So,
what's the difference to you between being a builder and a remodeler?
Well, first off, philosophically, right now we're all builders. I believe we're all builders. We have custom home builders, we have production home builders, we have multifamily builders, and we have remodelers who are builders. We just tear it apart first before we put it back together. There is no difference, honestly, in my mind.
I think there's a different skill set that a lot of remodelers have that many new home builders, production builders do not have, or have not developed. I think it takes a special kind of forethought and vision to be able to execute remodeling projects well.
I would agree with you. And again, in my mind, remodeling and custom homes are almost identical. Yeah. And the main thing of it is, and I've said this publicly many times, remodelers and custom home builders build relationships. We have relationships not only with our customers that we have to work really hard to develop and maintain, but we also have to have good relationships with our trades, because those trades are living with our customers too. Mm-hmm. So critically important there. Production home builders, particularly multifamily builders, somewhat, they're building product to sell. Mm-hmm. Okay. So build them efficient, build them fast, build them as cost effective as you can. Yep. And then they sell the house and they're done. Yeah. We, on the other hand, remodelers and custom home builders, and my company's done both, as yours has, we rely heavily on finishing that project and having a relationship with that person. So number one, they will refer you to other people, their friends, family, so forth, but also so that they'll call us back the next time they need a project, big or small. And I've always had the philosophy, I think I was telling you coming over here, that I met my current wonderful, beautiful wife because I went and installed a storm door on her house because my guys didn't have time and I showed up. Wow, what an opportunity that was, right?
That's a very long-term relationship building that you did there.
That was the mid-90s.
Did a job for her 30-something years ago, and then now you're married.
Yeah. Sometimes it works strange ways, but yeah.
I love what you said about having this network of people that you can call on. We did an episode here on the podcast a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago, with our local GHBA chapter, kind of promoting membership and talking about membership, right? And we talked about having that network of builders and trades and like-minded people that we can all collaborate with. And it's great it's great locally, but there's always a little bit of uncomfortableness because these are your competitors. And I've always said there's plenty of work in a city like Houston for everybody, so I don't mind collaborating. But still, on some level, there's a little bit of, I'm going to be guarded about how I'm sharing information. Whereas when we have this kind of national network, especially through a program like the 20 Clubs, and also, I'm starting this peer group coaching here next month, which will be very similar to 20 Clubs, but you're part of this more national network, and you're not competing with these people, and you feel very, open. You can be vulnerable and kind of share struggles, and you feel like you can, again, pick up the phone and call these guys and say, hey, have you ever had this problem? I'm having this, whether it's personnel, whether it's financial, operations, whatever, and have that trusted, partner, friend that you can just really spill your guts to and say, hey, how can I fix this? Or how can I do this better?
Well, first to respond to you, and I need to say this, so Curtis, bear with me, okay?
Yeah.
One of the things that the NAHB family cannot and should not and will not do is compare pricing.
Oh, for sure.
Okay? Whether they're your neighbor or whether they live in Tacoma.
Yeah.
Okay. That's called antitrust violations.
Yeah.
And we have to be real careful about that.
Yep.
So hope it's okay. I had to bring that into the picture here.
Yeah. I was talking more just about kind of general business financials and not pricing. Yeah.
No, I understand that. And, I believe that there are no wheels to invent anymore. Okay. Yep. I truly believe that. Sure, there's tweaks to processes and things and new products that we're all exposed to.
Technology that we can use.
Technology that this guy doesn't understand because he's old. But by and large, somebody has probably already invented that wheel somewhere in this country. And I love having, I'll be honest with you, 140,000 members that I could probably bend their ear a little bit. And it's not why I'm a senior officer, one of the 5 leaders of the National Association, but it's a factor. It really, truly is. And so it's a really, really unique opportunity to be a part of something that way. Now, there are times when we probably appear we don't know what we're doing, okay? And I'll tell you why, Curtis, because all 5 senior officers right now, of which I'm second vice chair, so third in line to be chair, we're all the same. We're the same as you. We're all the same. That old saying of we put our pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody does. We just have developed ourselves into a position where we can successfully exit or vacate or not be around our businesses. We're all in business 100% of the time, or even 50% of the time, and devote what's our lives are now to giving back to the industry. It's been really good to us.
Yeah. So how does someone, a young guy or a not so young guy, how do we get our businesses to the point where we have that free time that we can give back?
I think the biggest problem, I've seen people that want to do that, we all think we're going to build something to sell someday. Okay. I'm the bearer of bad news there. Yeah, there's value in our companies, but closely held small companies don't carry. You're not going to make millions. Okay. There's some value there. So you've got to be really patient and really savvy to build a company that isn't dependent upon you. Okay. Hard thing to do, because those of us with the chutzpah, if you will, to start a company, own a company, we're pretty protective of the way we do it, okay? But you still have to develop your company the way you do it, have conviction enough to believe in it, and it doesn't hurt to have financials that prove you're successful at it, okay? And then you have to find the right person. I will tell you, I probably went through 6 people over the 15 years that I went through, that I had visions of moving on in life, including NAHB leadership. Because to answer that question, I decided in 1998 that I was going to lead NAHB someday. So almost 30 years ago. You know what? I was exposed to it. I said, I can do that. That's just my personality. But it took a long time. So long time to get where I was going to go. Like I said, I probably had 5 or 6 people that I thought they came along, they went to work for me,
This guy's got it.
This guy's got it, or this gal's got it. And sadly enough, they prove that they don't in a lot of cases, because your company is built on you. Okay. And until you find that person or persons, in my case, that are you, in my case, my 2 daughters, okay.
Piece of you. Yep.
Got some DNA there that works, okay. But until they believe in the way the company was built and what got it to it's 35 years old today. So it was 25 years of me before it got to a point where my daughters seemed interested. They asked me about it, and we started the process. They grew up around it, but they didn't grow up in it. So it's kind of shocked me. But they understood what built ABD, and it's relationships. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is now because I'm kind of a consultant to ABD, but at times we were 75 and 80% repeat and referral business. And man, that's an affordable way to get your clientele.
It is.
But it's only because of a lot of hard work and doing it right. And if we make mistakes, and when we make mistakes, a better way to put that, live with them, fix them.
Yes.
Don't hide behind warranties. Don't hide behind blaming your trades. Trade might have made the mistake, but who hired the trade? You did. Yep. So you fix it. So you spend a lot of money because people are going to make mistakes. Last I knew, we're all humans, and humans err and sin and make mistakes. So we just have to own it and build it.
If you found value in this episode of Your Project Shepherd podcast, please consider leaving us a review and sharing it with your friends. That helps us expand our reach and bring this content to more people. Thanks for being here. Yeah, it is a struggle. I mean, I also have been through quite a few people where I'm like, man, this could be the person that could kind of step into my place and let me step back. And I've done that several times over the years as well. I think one of the hardest things to find is having someone who just treats people the way you want to treat people, and not see them just as just another customer. It's who values building those relationships the same way that you do, and someone who, even if they're not an owner, they're kind of having the mentality of an owner, and the way that they just the care that they give to their job, the way that they interact with people, and just again the way they treat the customers. I mean, we are in the customer service business. More so than even a restaurant or a small service company, because we are in a business where we're in a 6, 9, 12, 24-month relationship with somebody, depending on the size of the project, and that's a high touch industry that we're in. Very high, very high. Matter of fact, we live with them. In a lot of cases in a remodel. Yeah, in remodeling, we're in the house with their families while we're there 8 hours
eating,
a day while sleeping.
They're there. Yeah,
exactly.
It is a very high touch industry,
and especially now that people are working from home more. A lot of times there's people working 2 rooms away from where we're tearing stuff apart and remodeling.
Yeah, you ask the customer, "Is today a good day to run the jackhammer?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm going to be working at home." Yeah, we all heard that. So
yeah. It's been really great seeing other friends who are a little closer to my age also get involved, and people that too, like Elliot and Sean and Greg and all those, and Robert and all those guys that were in this group with us, who are also kind of getting on to that next level of state and national leadership. It's like you said, that takes time. I didn't realize that 1998 is kind of when you first said that you wanted to go down that path, but it takes a long time to kind of decide that's what you want to do, and then work your way up that ladder, right?
Well, it is, and there's, to my opinion, there's only one way to do it, and that's get involved. Okay, I mean, I started involved in educational classes, educating me, learning. And then when I got involved in leadership, and by the way, my leadership in the HBA family started three years after I started my company because I found out about my local Northern Colorado Home Builders Association, and a friend says, you ought to run for the ladders on there. So I stepped on the ladder 3 years into this thing.
Wow.
I was our local president. 4 years later, I was the Colorado State president for the Home Builders Association. And I had gotten involved nationally in the Remodelers Council. And I decided about 1995 that I was going to lead that someday. That happened in 2011. I became chairman of the National Remodelers Council. Loved it. Does not demand the time that I spend today. Because to be honest with you today, being a senior officer at NAHB is borderline full-time job. We have our downtime where I'm not, but we're traveling probably 3 weeks out of the month. Just like I'm here in Houston this week to do the business for National Association. The business association is unique. Guess what it is? People. Okay. We have 140,000 plus or minus members nationwide. Texas almost has 10,000. I know TAB, Texas Association of Builders, has this goal of before the year's out, they hit that 10,000 mark. North Carolina's got 16,000.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Largest state association in the country. But it's about people. And NAHB in Washington, D.C., we do the work with the federal government, primarily advocacy, trying to make it easier for us to stay in business. There's local laws, there's federal or state laws, there's national laws. They all affect us. And our job at NAHB is to advocate on the behalf of states and local associations. How can we advocate if we're not here in Houston, Texas, learning what the issues are so that we can take it back to Washington, D.C. and talk to our great staff who are lobbyists and so forth, talk to our legislators and see if we can move the needle forward to making home ownership easier. And it's not easy right now. Cost precludes a whole lot of people from wanting and needing a home. So
I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand who are not involved and who aren't looking at the big national picture. They're like, man, there's so much of this money in our budget and our dues is going to this national organization, and all they're doing is just political stuff. So, they don't understand the kind of the importance of the lobbying aspect of things and being involved on that national level. Honestly, I was in the same boat until I went to our state. We call it Rally Day, where we take a group to the Texas Capitol, meet with lawmakers, talk about issues with lawmakers. Until I went and did that, I wasn't aware of kind of the importance of that. And that was really eye-opening for me, sitting down across the table from a state rep and talking about issues that affect how I do business, how I build, how to help my clients afford the products that we're creating, right? So I think just the awareness of the importance of what the national does is something that's maybe still a little lacking with the local people. So having you here speaking at our luncheon tomorrow, meeting people, I think that really helps just with the general awareness of what you guys are doing up there.
Well, my first year on the ladder nationally was last year. Okay. The 5 senior officers and our CEO, so 6 people. We are pretty confident that we touched half our membership in person last year.
Wow.
So we're traveling a lot. We're listening a lot. We're learning a lot how we can help people be successful. Ultimate goal, we build homes, we enrich communities, and we change lives. And that's you'll hear from us a lot, and we can't do it without our members. Mm-hmm. NAHB's got a great staff, 210 people, which sounds like a lot, but they're understaffed.
There's a lot of work to do.
They're understaffed. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, 140,000 plus or more members and needing to grow. But, sadly enough, it all takes money to do things. And how you get money, you get members and so forth. It's kind of a vicious circle. But if we're not at the table in Washington, D.C., we're on the table as part of the menu.
Sacrifice.
Part of, from 2004 to 2010, I was heavily involved on the national level in a little thing called the RRP rule, and that's lead paint. Okay. I got to testify with the EPA a couple of times during that phase, and what came out of that for me, 6 years of work, okay, for another guy named Bob from Connecticut, he started on that thing in the mid-90s. Okay. But what came out of that in 2010 is an RRP rule, renovate right process. Okay. That is tolerable. Had we not been at the table, lead paint it's a serious thing for children.
Yep.
Okay. Or pregnant women who have, they obviously have a child in them. It's a serious thing, lead poisoning. Okay. But it would have been treated like asbestos had we not been at the table. And then we, members in Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Fort Collins, Colorado, where I'm at and so forth, would be living under the same premise of lead paint restrictions as asbestos, or maybe worse.
And the cost of that would have been astronomical.
Talk about affordability of projects, because even the new rule changed the price of projects if you have a lead paint.
Yeah, because what year did lead paint kind of stop being a thing? The 1978, right?
1978.
So just think about how many houses we touch that are older than 1978 that probably have lead-based paint, and the cost of all the containment and the things that would have had to have been done had it been treated like asbestos.
Keywords is lead paint's remediated, asbestos is abated, which means asbestos, it's a total rip out and contain and so forth. Lead paint is only the specific areas that we are in. We battled for that in NAHB. And it pains me a little bit sometimes when people aren't members that should be, because if you're in this business, you should be a member. Okay, supporting the efforts to keep you in business, and that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, understand there's about 500,000 remodelers in this country that have a payroll. We have about 22,000 people, members of NAHB, that say they do remodeling that have a payroll. I think there's room for improvement. Okay, a lot of reasons why they don't. It's because NAHB is National Association of Home Builders. Well, as I said earlier, we're all builders. We all build homes. We just have our own little niche. All of the regulations that come out of Washington, D.C. affect both new and remodeling of all kinds. So it's not there. Also proud to say that currently there's 5 senior officers. 2 of us are remodelers.
Oh, yeah.
So we've made some real inroads to be visible, and so forth. Bill Owens is our first vice president. He will be chairman in 2026. I'll follow him in 2027. So I call that opportunity kind of to grow the word remodeling in the building industry, but we're working hard at it.
Absolutely. You mentioned when you first started, one of the reasons that you joined was the education. One of the things that you took advantage of was the education. Same story for me when I first joined our local GHBA chapter. Probably almost 20 years ago. I built for a couple of years without joining, but when I joined, that was the first thing that I took advantage of as well. And I went, like you, I went all over the country trying to take all the classes that were offered to get my certified graduate builder, graduate master builder, certified aging in place specialist, all those designations. I said, I need to learn this. Like, how fast can I get this? And so I would find out what cities the classes were being offered in, and I'd fly to, Orlando or, Denver or wherever each of these classes was being offered, so that I could soak up that information. And that was the best source of just kind of general building knowledge growth, but also business specific knowledge as well. But, I didn't go to school for construction or for business. I went to school for music, and so I kind of fumbled my way into it through my uncle being a builder, and so I had no formal education in construction, and so taking those classes and having that knowledge available to me through the association was huge. It also gave me kind of instant credibility when I went and met with potential clients, and I can say, hey, I'm not chucking a truck. I have an actual company. I've gone and taken these classes. I have these designations, and it kind of lends you some legitimacy, even if you're a young guy. I find it easier as an almost 50-year-old person to get business, because when they're sitting across from an older person that has more experience, they're just more comfortable with you regardless. But when you're 25 years old, they're like, oh, he's just a young kid. What does he know? And so having those classes, I feel, gave me some instant credibility. So again, I started similarly with GHBA, NAHB. And I think that it's this really cool cycle of watching. At first, it's about what can we get from the association, what resources can we get to grow ourselves, and then at some point we start looking at, okay, I got all this, what can I do to give back to now help the next generation of people who are coming into this?
Exactly. And if I were to piggyback on that, Curtis, that's why I do what I do now. Okay. Anything I can do to help the industry that gave me the opportunities, even though I fought them all along, and I know you've done your own share of fighting. Sure. We will do it our way. We know better, and so forth, but we don't. You can't stop learning. This trip to Houston yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I will go home with more information than I came with. Good information that I can apply in so many ways. That's the key thing we've got to do. We change. Education has changed a lot since you and I started, as we both know. Yep. Okay. Sadly, I fought that kicking and screaming for years, and sadly, I was chairman of the National Association of Home Builders Education Committee the year the big change came. Okay. Fought it all year. However, education changes, technology's changed. Okay. Mm-hmm. The information hasn't changed too much. I mean, you still build houses with lumber and drywall, sticks and bricks, but it's changed in the presentation. And I know, you're involved with Remodelers community. I know Cal Hunt, he's a great guy, great program, great. I read it religiously because guess what? I learn. Mm-hmm. Okay. I communicate with Kyle once in a while. Okay. But, just the presentation and the way it's out there. Okay. And I'm going to say this, Kyle, the only thing wrong with your program is your guys aren't all NAHB members. We need you guys that way. And
100% agree.
Everybody's got the reasons for doing it and don't. Yeah. So I say that with tongue in cheek and so forth.
I'll be encouraging the guys in my group to join if they're not members. That's for sure.
And you can't just pay your dues and sit back and wait for something. That's that mentality you and I probably started with, that what can you do for me? And I'm going to quote what I think one of our best presidents ever was, and it wasn't my party, but I respected the man, John F. Kennedy. I won't get this quote exactly right because it's old, but it's not what the country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country. Yep. Same way with the Federation of NAHB. I don't know what I've spent in time and money to make my journey through NAHB. Don't want to know because it might scare me a little bit, but I know it's not enough to break me. I'm still here. I'm financially, pretty retired, pretty comfortable. Built a business that's very transferable. And so it wasn't too much money. Okay. But the reward is huge. And that's what people need to keep in mind. It does take time, but if you're not involved, you're not going to get much.
Yeah. So what kind of final piece of advice, we'll kind of wrap this up. What kind of final piece of advice would you give to young, or maybe not so young like me, builders and remodelers, if we want to have the time to get involved with an NAHB, or if we just want to get ourselves to a point where we can spend more time with our family and retire? What's your main advice that you would give to people who want to do that?
Well, I think the biggest piece of advice, and I'll expound on this a little bit tomorrow at our luncheon, but you have to build a company that can function without you. I said that earlier. Okay. There's only one way to do that is through good people, through systems that are believable and provable. And a key thing that most business owners are poor at, including me at a time, is trusting your people, giving them the empowerment to make decisions. And you know what I found when I started doing that they make pretty good decisions.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I took a 2-week vacation after probably 8 years after I started my company. I never relaxed a bit. I was scared to death I was going to come home to a landfill.
Yeah.
I came home, and you know what happens when you empower people? They perform. Okay. Now, I've had bad people since then, but not everybody is geared to be a leader or be a, so there's followers and there's leaders. Empower people. People are powerful. People are strong. People are good. And that's a fault sometimes. I think there's good in everybody.
Yep.
Sometimes they whack me in the forehead and remind me that
Same.
they weren't so good. But I think that's the key. Just empower your people and empower your members. And keyword, listen.
Yeah. But I would also say have the systems in place for them to utilize to be empowered. So if you don't have the systems in place and you empower them, they're just going to do whatever they want. So they empower them to work within a good framework that you've created. I think is a great way to put that, right?
So, skilled trades are a big problem in our industry right now because the country has been on got to have a 4-year degree, now you and I have 4-year degrees. I've got a master's degree, none of it in the building business. Okay. So, did grow up on a ranch and a farm, so I had some skilled trades because if we needed it, we built it. Okay.
Yep.
Now, quality, I don't know about that, but the people we hire primarily our most expeditious way to bring skilled trades into our companies are. You used the word Chuck in his truck. I got a friend named Chuck, so I have to be careful there.
Sorry, Chuck.
You do too.
Does he drive a truck?
I think he does. No. Anyway, we have Joni's pickup truck, and his dog and so forth. But we have a tendency, companies with systems and processes, to hire those people to execute our systems and processes. Sadly enough, we don't do a good enough job training those people because they've been doing it for a while, failed miserably, or there's a reason why they were looking for a new home, right? We bring them on board. Their training consists of signing some documents and paperwork and say, here's your first 4 jobs, go do it. What are they going to do? They're going to do what they know. Mm-hmm. They're going to do it the way they've been doing it that didn't turn out so good because they didn't have systems. They stored everything up here in their head. They didn't have processes, didn't have documentation, and they're going to fail. And we're going to blame them.
Yep. When
we really need to look in the mirror because we failed to get them trained on our systems that we know works. Now that sounds a little egotistical, but systems are systems. And I venture to guess if we had a way, Curtis, to interview the companies we know of, whether it's NAHB or Remodelers Advantage or Remodeling Community, if we had a way to compare systems, they're all alike. Okay.
Yep.
The processes are pretty similar.
Yep.
Very similar. Okay. I could tell that in the software business because when a new software comes out, like JobTread, kind of replaces BuilderTrend, but JobTread's coming, there's not a lot of differences in those. What is the difference? It's called customer service.
Right.
That's what happens, okay? And the ability to develop a product and provide it at a reasonable cost to make money over the long term, and not picking on either one of those companies because I can't in that aspect, but we get this, there's nothing shameful about being business to make money. That's what makes the world go around. Yep. It is shameful to make money in a greedy way because that's going to be short term. Mm-hmm. You're better to make a little bit for a long term than a lot in a hurry. It'll bite you.
Absolutely. Yeah. you mentioned, having just kind of letting people do things the way they've always done them. I mean, when I look back at, because I always like to be a little self-reflective when I let somebody go, because you hire somebody because obviously you saw something in them, right? They had a good resume, they had experience, they had some knowledge. Otherwise, you wouldn't have hired them. So I always get very reflective when I have to let somebody go and say, what could I have done better to make that person successful? And sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it is, there's some personality flaws or whatever that you didn't see. But when I think back at some of my past project managers, let's say, I'm like, you know what? He really did know what he was doing, but I didn't give him guidance on how to work within our framework to be successful. I could have spent more one-on-one time with that guy his first 2 months and make sure he understands how we do things, understands our systems, how to use our software, all that kind of stuff. But, I was too busy. I had other things going on, whatever, and so I always have to look back and say, that guy probably could have been better if I had just given him a little more support. And so I think it's, I think it's super important to have the systems, but also to coach your people to use those systems. And it's hard when you're a small company, especially when you're trying to wear a lot of hats. If you as the company owner are doing sales and estimating and HR and everything else, it's how do you carve out that time to spend what that person needs to really properly develop? So it's a little bit easier now that we've grown to the point at which I have a great director of construction who is my project manager's mentor. He's been with me for almost 11 years, so he knows my processes and he knows how to coach those guys. But that's a luxury that a lot of smaller companies don't have.
No, guess what? It takes money to hire those good people.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't take care of your people, particularly your good people, it's going to churn. You're going to be hiring all the time. And that costs a lot of money. Okay. And again, I've never been ashamed to make money. That's what we're doing. It's sadly enough, the world, the media, the consumers and so forth think we get rich. Okay.
Yeah.
They really truly knew what our margins were and what the requirements were and the risk we take.
The risk. Yeah.
The risk we take. Keep in mind, we are messing with, and I use the word messing loosely, but we are messing with people's homes. The largest investment that they likely will make in their entire life.
And one of the most personal things to them.
Absolutely. So take care of their dog, take care of their kids, take care of the project in a way that they're smiling when you're done.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Bob, I really appreciate you being here today. It's always great to catch up, and I hope that people watching were able to grab a little nugget of wisdom from you. And I think the world of you, and I'm so glad that you're here with me.
Well, Curtis, thank you very much. Opportunity is great to share. Because sharing is what we have.
Yeah. All right. Looking forward to tomorrow to hearing you speak at our luncheon and spending more time with you. And thank you all for listening today and watching, and hope that you got something out of this. If you have some other suggestions on topics that you'd like to hear us hit or guests that you'd like us to have, be sure and email us at podcast@yourprojectshepherd.com, and we will strongly consider that for future episodes. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.